Check for errors. Before we show you how to check for errors, let me explain the steps in creating claims in my food program. The claims process has 5 steps. Step 1, the provider or center checks for errors. Step 2, the provider or center fixes any mistakes. Step 3, the provider or center clicks Submit to sponsor. Step 4, the sponsor corrects any errors and disallows any meals based on review visits. Step 5, the sponsor creates the claim. This video is about the first step in the claims process, which is to check for errors. Providers or centers can check for errors as many times as they want. We strongly encourage providers and centers to click Check for Errors at least once a week for a smooth claims processing experience. To check for errors, start by clicking on Check for Errors or Submit to Sponsor on the main dashboard. Clicking this button will open a calendar. On the calendar, select the month and year and click Load. You will see a screen with 3 sections. Section number 1, New Meal Attendance. The first section of the Check for Errors page is titled, New Meal Attendance Entered Since Last Check for Errors. It will have a date timestamp of the last time you did a check for errors if you are entering meal counts by name. The meals listed in this top section are those that have not been checked for errors. There might be errors on these meals or there might not be, but they have not been run through the My Food Program edit checks. The first 2 columns on new meal attendance are date and meal. Next is a column called Menu Entered. This will display true if a menu has been entered and false if a menu is missing. Next is a column called Meal Count. This is the total number of participants checked in for the meal across all rosters. The last column is Food Production. This column will display true if a food production record has been entered and false if there is no food production record. This column is not shown if you are a family child care provider. The second section on the Check for Errors page is a list of meal errors. Complete details about meal errors can be found on the Disallowed Meals report. Important note, the list of meal errors is updated only after you click Check for Errors. If you have updated any information and return to this screen, you need to click Check for Errors to update the list of meal errors. The last section of the Check for Errors page is Checked Meal Attendance. The meals listed here have been checked for errors. At the bottom of the screen, you will see several action buttons. One of those buttons will say Check for Errors. Clicking this button will begin the edit check process. The system will run the meals through the My Food Program edit checks and display a progress bar. This may take several minutes. You do not need to remain on this page for the meal validation process to continue. Once the edit checks are complete, the meal errors list will be updated.